Welcome to the Family Dynasty Podcast, where legacy meets leadership. I'm your host, Matt Dewing, family guide, business advisor, and believer in generational purpose. Our aim is to inspire and equip you to lead your family so that together you will experience compounding wealth in all 7 capitals through the generations. Each week we uncover timeless wisdom, cultural dynamics, and practical tools to help you lead with vision, live with intentionality, and build a flourishing family that multiplies in impact. Let's get to work. The Dynasty starts now.
Here we are again, Alaina and Elli.
Yes.
This is becoming a routine. I love it. What's going on with you girls?
Lately, I have been sleep training Clover.
Oh, what does that mean?
It means basically trying to get her to be independent in her sleep,
Okay.
independently fall asleep.
Wow.
So that has been an adventure, but she's doing really good.
At 4 months, you're already training her how to sleep.
Yes.
Wow. What's one tactic to do that?
There's a lot of different tactics, but one is called gradual extinction. So basically, if the baby is usually rocked to sleep, the idea is you slowly get them to go to sleep without that. So you might rock them till they're really drowsy, then lay them down. And if they cry,
Not until they're completely asleep, but
Right.
you're like timing it to train.
Exactly. And then if
tricky.
she cries, then you like rock her crib back and forth. And eventually
Are you
she
going?
can just go to sleep on her
Are
own.
you going to go to the class of Elli to learn
I think
sleep
we
training?
need to because we did not succeed with Andrew.
And when's next baby number 2 due?
5 weeks from now.
5 weeks. Hallelujah. So exciting. And how are things with you and Ian these days?
Things are good. Yeah. Life is busy, but good.
Yeah. We have at the barn, at the wedding venue, we have a big
weekend.
extravaganza next weekend. I know that you've been
Yep.
coordinating. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of prep for that.
Yeah. Oh, good. So today we are talking about human flourishing, enhanced in dynasties. I'll tell you where the genesis for this conversation came from is this book. Have you guys read this book, Becoming Whole?
I have not, but you have showed me the book before.
Yeah, I reference it a lot. Becoming Whole by Brian Fickert and Kelly Kapik, why the opposite of poverty isn't the American dream. I can remember we were, sometimes when you read a good book, you remember where you were. And we were at a resort down in the Florida Keys and just had time, and I was going through this book. And it was also at a time where I'm processing these thoughts about what it means to capture a dynastic family vision. And is that wrestling with, the goodness of that, or is that a vain concept, and all those things. And I think I was kind of had come through that season. And as I was reading this just came alive to me. And I was so many applications I was making to say, and it's exponentially true. When you take the truths that are outlined in here of this idea of becoming whole, and they do a great job in this book of unpacking what it means to be human. And honestly, what are some of the dynamics that go into our life as humans in this pursuit of our brokenness, right? How do we as broken humans on this process of becoming whole? And what are some of those realities in that process? And it was just so many light bulbs going on for me to say, there's a lot of truth in this book. And when you meld these ideas of what it means to be human, what it means to become whole, and you lay on top of that this idea that God has given us family, especially a family that's interconnected through the generations, and you have the recipe for maximal human flourishing, for people to really experience a wholeness in an exponential way when you weave some of these ideas of humanness, becoming whole, into the dynamics of a healthy dynastic family. So that's what we're gonna talk about.
Sounds good.
Kind of the intro line here is true human flourishing is not random, individual, or purely material. It's the fruit of living as God designed. Integrated beings of, and this is a definition that they give us in the book, what it means to be human is mind. We are made up of mind, affections, will, body, and relational creatures. We flourish within 4 key relationships. Our relationship with God first, with ourself, with others, and with creation. Family dynasties become the ideal ecosystem for cultivating this fullness because they nurture all the dimensions of our humanity across the generations. So in fact, this idea that we are mind, affections, will, body, relational creatures, and that we exist in 4 different relationships was some of the rubric that I used as we developed the 7 capitals of wealth and kind of thinking through each of those 7 capitals deals with a different aspect of our relationship, like spiritual capital. For instance, the primary foundational capital of all family wealth is our relationship to God. Right?
Yes.
And then health we have put second because, after our relationship to God, we need to have a healthy relationship with ourselves. And so, we've kind of built that. And then when we said relationships, the way we've defined relationships as our 3rd capital of wealth is to say this relationship with others is so important, the way God has built us. Yeah. And primarily the way He has put us in family, that the way we cultivate and steward these relationships in family, and of course, when we talk about the idea of here, what it means to be human, relationship with God, self, and others. Well, others, it goes beyond the family, and that's kind of where we take capital number 6, our social capital, right? Anyway, maybe to just get this conversation rolling, let's just ask this question. How does our culture's view of self distort the biblical picture of humanness?
I think I've been able to see this in my experience working in mental health. I think when I've been working in more secular companies, I really don't have the place to help broken individuals through like spiritual means. And I think it's easy from my worldview to see how, as a whole person, that's such an important part of us, the spiritual aspect, our relationship with God, and like you said, relationship with families and such. But I feel in the culture's view of self, and even in a lot of psychology models, they really don't think of the person, of the self, in that more holistic view. And I feel that that really limits the amount of healing that a person can do without seeing themselves as they're created to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't see yourself primarily created in the image of God, and then saying, well, who is God? How do I understand the attributes of God so that I can more clearly understand myself and His revelation of how He has created us?
Yeah. And I just think that not having that view really stunts someone's ability to be able to flourish and be able to be a whole person. And I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah. Carl Trueman's book, the Rise and Fall of the Modern Self, I think is the name of the book, right? Where he exposes kind of the process we've gone through in culture to get where we have, where the self is really whatever I think it is, rather than something that is created in a very specific way by God to be understood. Yeah, and so I think if you can just latch on to this reality that we are made up of these different aspects that we've kind of gone through, and that we are made for relationship. Think about it. Think like I didn't do this research, but I imagine it's a known quantity. I wonder how much of the average person's relational energy goes into family versus everything else in life. It's got to be a large percentage, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
For a healthy person, I would assume.
Yeah. So, we're relational creatures. This is part of the point, that if we can, no matter how broken our families are, find hope that God wants to restore broken relationships, especially in family, and then let it flow from the family outward. His design is for flourishing relationships. Yeah. And it takes work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which of the 4 relationships tend to be most neglected in modern life, do you think?
I think that self is one that our culture does not neglect. I think oftentimes if someone realizes that they need healing, that they want to flourish more, they're going to be told first to look at themselves and to heal their relationship with the self, which there's some truth in that, but I think that the others, especially the relationship with God, is often neglected.
Oh, I would think
when
mostly,
looking
yeah.
at that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of emphasis on self and less on some of the others. And definitely, I would say, in our culture as a whole, probably spiritual health relationship with God is pretty low.
Yeah.
And I probably put in some areas, creation too.
Low? Yeah. I was actually going to say, I think in many times with this global warming hype, people outplace creation, honestly, above some of their relationships. They think it's more important to heal the planet in ways that are, outside their ability to control. They care more about those things than they do their relationships. Or how about this? They think their relationship with their dog is more important than their relationship with anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? There's a misplaced relationship. But that's the rest of creation, right? Not that that's an unimportant. I was just reading Stephen, my friend, the veterinarian. He's in his tagline in his email. He has a verse that the righteous man cares for his animals or something. Not to make light of caring for our pets. We have pets.
Right.
Pets are important, and caring for them well is part of our human experience.
Yeah, and it's not like this is saying that all four of those things are important.
That's right.
It's not that you should neglect creation or you should neglect your relationship with yourself. It's just holistic.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think just being in creation, taking time to notice the beauty that's around us, like the stars, something growing, that kind of takes you out of yourself and realizing there's something bigger, there's something more. And that can kind of help make the connection between maybe you and God or whatever.
Yeah.
So some people don't take time to, there might be activism for like the earth, but like take time to like appreciate the creation.
Yeah. That's good. That's good, Lane. So the family as an ecosystem of human flourishing. Here's the key idea. The family is God's original institution for integrating the whole person. It's where the mind is educated, the affections are shaped by love, and the will is trained toward good. The body is cared for and disciplined, and relational identity is formed. Dynastic families multiply flourishing because they institutionalize this ecosystem, aligning their shared life, enterprises, and worship toward multi-generational wholeness. So what does it look like for a family to actively shape each member's mind, affections, and will? What are some examples that we can pull from?
I mean, just living life together, you're going to, iron sharpens iron.
Yes. And the values that are important to you as a mom and dad, you're going to be instilling those in your children day after day after day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to be shaping them in that way. Why does flourishing require a long horizon? And even considering this idea, why does flourishing require more than one lifetime?
Like you can set up good habits, good family structure.
I'm going to go back to this. I don't know where I heard this line, but when I heard it, it resonated and it's never left me. That true change takes about a generation. And I think back a couple things come to mind. One, I'll always remember Grace when she was either preteen or early teen. And you know how bad Grace was. She was always getting disciplined. I remember this precious, precious time when she just came and like crocodile tears pouring out of her, like they were like squirting out of her eyes. She was so, when will I ever stop wanting to be bad? Right? She recognized that she was bad, always bad, and she just didn't want to be bad anymore. And I'm like, thank God she is struggling with sin, right? She isn't giving herself over to it. So, yeah, just with that one, to say, I remember as a young man, just longing for transformation. I am stuck in this rut and I want to change. And then you get some traction and you experience, I have some victory in this area. I've overcome a bad habit or I've instituted a new good habit, right? Those things feel really wonderful, don't they? And all of a sudden you take on a new level of flourishing that you hadn't experienced before. I'm not nullifying that those happen in the good life, in a life that is pursuing self-discipline and pursuing growth. But still, the pace of transformation, true transformation, is slower than we like it to be.
Yeah.
And in each generation, I think we can, if we take, every parent's goal is that my children would flourish to a level more than I did, right? And if each parent can deposit something in that will help them go the next step further, or also I think every generation also looks at their parents and say, there's a few things I don't want to repeat,
Right.
right? And so when you combine taking the good that you've received from the former generation or generations, combined with, I see some patterns I want to make sure we change. Those two things together, boom, just notch it up if you can act wisely and integrate some of these.
Yeah, and very intentionally instilling those values in the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also part of flourishing, we recognize that our choices, our behaviors, and even like what we choose to eat, that affects our kids, our grandkids, the genetics that they'll have. So I think even in a very basic way, just realizing that every action we take will affect generations down the line, even just biologically.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. So here's some evidence and illustration. Harvard's Human Flourishing Program, they've said that meaning, virtue, close relationships, and health are the strongest predictors of lifelong well-being. And these are things that are cultivated primarily in family. Deuteronomy 30:19 and 20 says, choosing life so that you and your descendants may live. So moving on to our first relationship with God. The key idea here is all flourishing begins with reconciliation and alignment with God. Without Him, our mind loses truth, our affections chase idols, our will rebels, and our body serves appetite, and our relationships fracture.
Yep.
I mean, a family is a major shaper and cultivator of shared love for God, not just private faith. What are some of the practices that could restore a coherence in a household to have a shared deepening of spiritual wealth?
I think integrating different habits like a family time or just simply prayers before meals or intentional prayer time together.
Yeah.
Like when our family meets, we always have a time of prayer, we have a time of singing. Those kind of center us around our faith. Starting and ending the meeting off that way and keeping that as a regular occurrence in your daily life.
That's good.
Yeah, I think this is such an important question because I feel in a lot of Christian households, it's go to church. Church teaches your kids what they need to know about the Bible, and there you go. But it's so much more important, and I think the things that Alaina said are definitely ways to it kind of cultivate that love for God in your home. But it's so important to be doing that in your home because for kids, it's important for them to see what that looks like in the day-to-day life and not just going to church on Sunday. And then as a parent, you just hope that that's enough.
Yeah. I know Grandpa talks about an inflection point for us as a family when he may have felt awkward doing it. It wasn't something he had any habit of doing. And then all of a sudden he just started coming into our bedroom every night, putting his hand on our head and praying a blessing over us. And he did that from the time that whenever he started it, however old I was, until we left the house and got married. All right. And what a rich thing that was. Just like, what is a habit that you can do as a family to bring blessing, to bring a connection to God that is a family shared connection.
Yeah. And he would do that for us grandkids when we would have sleepovers there. I remember just made you feel special. Like, oh, Grandpa comes in, he says this little prayer for us. He had to, like, he'd stretch, if there was 4 or 5 of us in the bed, he'd stretch his arms out so he could try to touch everyone at once and just pray for us. And that was very, very meaningful.
That's right. That's great. Yep. So John 15:5 says, apart from me, you can do nothing. We want to cultivate this within family. Families that pray together and serve in faith-based mission report higher relational stability and joy. So we want to encourage families to pray together and serve together. Love this line from Augustine. You have made me for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find rest in you. Let's talk about our second relationship with self, forming identity and inner order. Flourishing requires self-knowledge and integrity, the harmony of mind, affections, and will under truth. Dynastic families train each generation not just in skill, but in self-governance. Knowing who they are and whose they are, our identity is primarily formed within the family context.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How can a family culture help members integrate thought, emotion, and action?
I know I mentioned earlier that I think our culture really focuses on the self and your relationship with the self, but I sometimes feel that in Christian communities, that can actually be neglected.
Yeah.
And I think it might be as a way to like swing away from the world.
Right.
But I like that this is saying this is part of being a holistic person. And I think that as Christians, maybe we're taught that our emotions are bad, they can be sinful, they can lead us astray, which of course they can lead us astray, but I think understanding the importance of emotions, what they're for, and how God gave us emotions for a reason, and then understanding that in a healthy way and how that can relate to how we treat others, how we worship God. I think that's really important, and I think sometimes in Christian circles that isn't seen as important.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Just I have to move outside of myself to serve others.
Right.
Therefore, we're really not cultivating that true understanding of ourselves and having a healthy relationship with ourselves. Experiencing the healing that we need to experience and the wholeness that comes from an internal integration of who am I before God.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
I think it's really important for like young people to know who they are, whose they are in their family, but also apart from their family. So that way when they are out in the world, they're not as easily swayed or caught up in something because they have a firm identity.
Yeah, that's right.
So that can keep them grounded.
Yeah. So when you were talking about that point, Elli, what it made me think of is I geek out on all kinds of personality assessments. I love that. And I've noticed in the Christian community, you have kind of about three people, right? Some people are like, oh, okay, if I have to, I'll go along with it. Other people are like, are you kidding me? This is bogus.
Yeah.
And other people, are kind of like me, yeah, let me learn some more.
Right.
But I feel sorry for those people who just kind of push it aside because honestly, every one of these that I take, I feel like I learn another aspect of myself that was hidden. And another aspect of who God has made me to be becomes seen and understood by me. I think we are on a perpetual, if we're curious enough and hungry enough, we're on a perpetual lifelong journey to understand deeper who God has made us to be.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us to know our hearts, know our motivations, because then it allows us to act better in our relationships and treat our family with more love and understand why we may do things that are unhealthy. And ultimately, it connects to all those other pieces, like our relationship with God, our relationship with family. So I think it's important to understand those things about ourselves because it can help those other aspects.
Absolutely. And I think it's an important point that you're bringing up is these aren't compartments.
Yeah.
My relationship with God, my relationship with myself, others in the world, they flow.
Yeah.
Right. And how my relationship with God impacts my relationship with others and creation and myself. And
exactly.
It's all integrated.
it is.
For example, I think Alaina kind of touched on this, but our relationship with God gives us a grounding for us to be able to have that relationship with ourselves. And like it grounds that. So I do love the idea that all of these things do integrate together. And without one, it's kind of hard to have the other ones.
Yeah. Here's a proverb. This is Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. It's important when we're dealing with ourselves to, this is what parents do for children too, right? Is to help them understand that we're here to guard you until you can learn to guard yourself. And guard your heart, guard your relationship with yourself. Well, let's go on now. What are we going to look at? We're going to look at this third relationship with others. This is the core relational circle of the dynasty. Marriage, parenthood, siblings, grandparents, cousins, the training ground for love, forgiveness, patience, and unity. While I think about it, how many times as a little kid every year, come over here, say I'm sorry, and mean it. Okay, now you say I forgive you. It's where we learn.
Yeah.
It's where we learn love, forgiveness, patience, unity. We call this relational capital, relationships inside the family, and distinguish it from social capital, relationships outside the family. Without strong inner bonds, no dynasty can sustain external influence. Why do you think many families neglect investing intentionally into intra-family relationships? Sometimes, it's said in this modern era, the home can be like a train station. It's a place where you meet, you're in and out, have a meal, but it can be a place that's lonely for relationships. It's just a place you come to sleep, and then you're busy in the world doing everything else you're doing as an individual.
Yeah, I think sometimes you take for granted what's closest to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think life can just get really busy. And instead of prioritizing family, it's easy to prioritize other things.
Right. Yes.
Because like Alaina said, you take family for granted.
Yep.
Yeah, you really have to be intentional with certain things.
And it's hard. Remember the season that we said, time out, everybody's coming out of sports and we're coming back home. You guys weren't happy about that. It was a hard decision as leaders of the family for Mommy and I to make, but it ended up being a good season in many ways, because we were the train station. Everybody was moving every which way. How do multi-generational households create space for mentorship and healing?
I mean, you learn, so much is caught, not taught. So just being around others, you're picking up on so many things.
Yeah.
Just being around older people, wiser people.
I'm thinking of this week, Joellen, your cousin, my niece, who's working in the business. There's some aspects that she needs a little mentoring with. And so we're going to spend 3 hours together in 2 days in the morning, where I'm just going to be helping her process some of the things that she's going through. All right. That's just one aspect. I do think there's a gold mine. There's a gold mine. Older people need to realize how much they have to give. So develop systems where the older generation is integrating life on life, being mentors to the younger generation.
Yeah, and taking it to a practical level, like, starting to have kids, you could look at like what online recommends, all these different accounts on social media that are recommending all these different things. And then you just ask, okay, mom who's had 8 kids, or an aunt, or even grandma, and like, oh, you just need a couple things. And you've got all this wealth of information that's been lived.
Right.
That
You're learning, but you're cultivating the relationship at the same time you're learning, rather than doing it in a vacuum, because you can on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 That's a really good insight, Alaina. So here's this great a Harvard study of adult development found that close relationships, more than money or fame, keep people happy and healthy. Genesis 18 and 19. God's promise to Abraham is sustained, that he may command his children and his household after him. Okay, well, this takes us to relationship number 4 with creation. It's stewardship, culture, societal impact. Flourishing extends outward into stewardship of land, work, business, and community. Healthy dynasties see their enterprises and philanthropy as means of partnering with God to restore creation. This is where societal impact capital, this is our 7th capital. The ultimate aim of every family is, how do we impact society? And also, when we break down the 2nd capital of health, right, we break that down into our mental, emotional, physical health, but also we talk about environmental health, our connection to the environment. And I think that plays into this relationship with the rest of creation too. And it's the outflow of rightly ordered other relationships. Here's a question for listeners to write down and just think about or discuss with their family. How does your family view work and wealth? Do you view it more as consumption or stewardship? And if you find yourself saying consumption, I think it might be good to reorient and say, how can we view our work that we do and the wealth we accumulate as stewardship, not consumption?
Yeah.
What might it look like for a family to partner with God in restoring creation through business or philanthropy or ministry? What might it look like? Got some examples that come to mind?
I think in general, I know I've said this in other podcasts, but trying to make something that wasn't there before, make something beautiful that wasn't there before, or leave something better than when you came.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's synthesize this. The 7 capitals of human flourishing. Again, spiritual, health, relational, intellectual, financial, social, and societal impact. Within these 7 capitals are represented all 4 of these different relationships that God has created us to have with God, self, others, and the rest of creation. Some things for families to maybe discuss this around the dining room table. Which of the 7 capitals are strongest in your family right now? We actually have the family total wealth audit, and this is one of the things that we actually encourage families to take, and it has everyone in the family answer these questions, and it helps the family really understand what's most important to the family, what are they also experiencing the most wealth in, where is the gap between what they're longing for mostly and experiencing the greatest gap and where they feel like they are right now. It can help them understand the state of their family, what they long for most, where they're at, and where they can really excel in some goal setting. And ask which of the 4 relationships might need repair for those capitals to grow. And how might your family intentionally rebalance its flourishing across generations? So as a closing reflection, to be human is to live in harmony with God, self, family, and creation. To build a dynasty is to institutionalize that harmony, ensuring flourishing multiplies rather than dies in one generation. There's a couple scriptures here. You want to read those, Alaina?
Sure. Psalms 128. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table.
That's the song these days that we love to sing when we're together as a family. Psalm 128.
Jeremiah 29:7. Seek the shalom, the flourishing of the city.
Yeah.
Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Awesome. Human flourishing was never meant to be an individual pursuit. It's a dynastic calling, born in families ordered by God and extended through generations. Any final thoughts you want to have on this topic of becoming whole? Again, the book, if you want to read it, highly recommend it. Becoming Whole, Why the Opposite of Poverty Isn't the American Dream. I didn't mention this earlier, but this book is a sequel to When Helping Hurts. Right? This is building upon the ideas of When Helping Hurts. Not that you need to read When Helping Hurts before you can really get a good understanding of this, but the book is Becoming Whole, Why the Opposite of Poverty Isn't the American Dream. It's helping us understand that with our philanthropy, how do we best... It's not just a book about helping us become whole, but it's in how we show up in the world to help others become whole. It's not best to just give them a handout.
Yeah.
There's better ways to go about impacting the world with helping people become whole.
It's more than just us flourishing as a person. It's the greater flourishing.
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah. All right, Alaina and Elli, till next time. God bless. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us on the Family Dynasty Podcast, where legacy is built, not just inherited. If today's episode helped you lead your family with greater vision or purpose, share it with someone else who's building a legacy that lasts. And remember, you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth, that He may establish His covenant. Deuteronomy 8:18. Keep building with faith, leading with love, and living for impact. Your family is your greatest calling.